All right. This way. 1 second, something's gone wrong. Wait. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Today is a very special day because we have the Juice Doctor in the house, and we're going to be asking him as many questions as we can. Thank you, Juice Doctor, for joining us this evening. Just before we go, if you would like to follow us on any of our Instagram handles, the Instagram handle is Glory Edward Nutrition, Glory Edward Organic, and Chef Imani's Kitchen. If you'd like to book an appointment with us, it's 0798-455-1292. Services that Glory Edward offers are body MOT scan, essential oils, massage oils, organic herbs and spices, skin and hair care range, detox program, food intolerance scan, meal plans, ready meals, cooking classes, nutrition coaching, food for wellness scan, and also pain clinic every Saturday. Today we have Juice Doctor with us, and we have got a few questions to ask him, but if anyone here has any questions that you would like to ask him, you could put your questions on the chat. I'm just going to say a couple of things about the questions. I've got some questions prepared, but these are some of the areas we want to cover today, but he might not be able to answer all the questions, so we might have to bring him back another time when it's convenient for him to join us again. So some of the questions that, if you have any of these questions regarding your kidney, liver, lungs, blood pressure, diabetes, you can put them on the chat and I would read them and get him to answer as many as possible. I'm just gonna introduce Juice Doctor. Thank you, Juice Doctor, for joining us this evening. You're welcome on our program.
Thank you so much.
Can you tell us about yourself and why you have been called the Juice Doctor?
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here. I actually love doing these kind of sessions where we really get up close and personal with the people and really get to share some powerful information and nuggets that will hopefully inspire and empower you to take charge of your health. Okay, my name is Aaron Warden, aka the Juice Doctor. I became the Juice Doctor because we started out with a company about 11 years ago making juices. We used to make juices to help people detox themselves while they were on the go, and the company was formulated under the name of Go Juice Detox. We did that for about 2 years, and we found that people were really getting a lot of benefits from making the juices, but then we employed the technology, and the technology helped us to understand more how they could use food to improve their health. So once we employed the technology, then the company name changed to Vivo Nutrients, because Vivo means in the body, as opposed to Vitro, which means in the petri dish. So we were practically doing transformations with food in the body, so people were actually seeing the full effects of food while they were actually taking them along with their lifestyle changes. And as we grew and expanded, because many more people were starting to hear about what we're doing and wanted to engage with the service, we employed the technology, we employed the food, we employed the detox, we employed the lifestyle changes. So we've now formed a group of companies that deliver all our different services under the umbrella of the My Healthcare Group. So I've been coined as the Juice Doctor because that was our humble beginnings of where we started.
Thank you very much, Juice Doctor, for answering the question this evening. I'm going to ask you the first question. I think for the people that joined us a bit early today, you would have seen the video about the Bioscan, and that's one of the services that we do at My Healthcare Group and also a Glory Edward Nutrition Group of companies. So what does the Bioscan identify? What exactly is the Bioscan?
Okay, the Bioscan is one of the many technologies that we employ. The Bioscan really helps to have a conversation with your body through your hand. Now, your body actually speaks via the software, and it provides a detailed report that highlights the level of stress on all your organs. So things like your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidney, your brain, your bowels, your blood, your prostate, your bones, basically every organ in your body is reported on, and your body makes recommendations on what it needs to bring it back into balance. Once you've got that information, we can then make informed decisions about the best course of action to help your body to get back into order. And it will provide the blueprint, so to speak, for a lifestyle change program that we would embark upon to get your body where it needs to be. But the scan essentially identifies root issues and the underlying problems or the underlying causes that are related to people's conditions and things that they're struggling with in relation to their health.
Thank you very much. So when should I consider getting a body scan? So if I'm well, everything is okay with me, should I actually be considering getting a scan?
We tend to recommend people more to have a more proactive approach to health as opposed to reactive. So, rather than putting out the fire, let's find out where the fires are going to be ignited. Let's, find out where problems are going to happen before they occur, so that we can, put the relevant intervention in place to prevent symptoms from developing, to prevent disease from forming. Just like with your car, you'll take your car for an MOT before the car is due or before the car has any kind of issues. You're not going to wait for your car to break down and think, right, I need an MOT. You'll take your car for an MOT at the beginning or the end of every last year cycle, just to make sure that nothing goes wrong, so your car can serve you for the next 12 months without any issues. So we want you to have that kind of approach to your body. Do a body MOT scan of your body in advance of you experiencing any kind of symptoms or sickness, so that you can maximize the opportunities to increase and optimize your health.
So how many times a year can I get a body scan or the Bioscan?
Well, the fact that a body outlives a car by at least 5 times, average lifespan of a car is maybe 10 to 12 years. Well, they used to be 10 to 12 years, but now it's probably more like about 7 to 8 years. So if a car is 10 to 12 years, 5 times 12 is 60. We say do at least 2 times a year. If you do your car once a year, MOT your body at least twice a year to make sure that you can remain in optimal health.
So thank you very much, Doctor, for answering the questions. Please be reminded that you can put your questions on the chat and we'll answer them as we go along. Okay, so I got a couple of questions about sleep. For many clients that we see, sleep is a big problem. We had lots of clients coming this week, from international clients coming this week, and the main thing they were asking about is, what do I need to do to help me sleep? So the first question I wanted to ask you was, what health issues can develop as a result of sleep deprivation or lack of sleep?
Okay, very good question. We have a healing methodology that's termed the HERN protocol, which is HERN. H is for hydration, E is for elimination. Now, R in the HERN protocol is for rest, and N is for nutrition. But R for rest is one of the most important aspects of what we call the 4 pillars of health, because sleep is very important to the body's ability to regenerate itself. If you're not sleeping, you're not healing. So if you're not sleeping, the first thing you'll notice is that your brain is not able to regenerate. So you may start to experience brain fog or memory loss. The second thing that you'll notice, and a lot of people experience this quite early on in life sometimes, even as early as school age, is that if your eyes aren't being regenerated because you're not sleeping, or more importantly, sleeping at the right time, you'll start to lose your vision, because your brain and your eyes, they're very closely related. So lack of sleep will definitely lead to eye problems and initially brain problems. Then you'll move on to things like the thyroid, which then starts to affect your weight, because your body's ability to metabolize your food is now compromised because you haven't had the right amount of rest to be able to regenerate. Your blood vessels not going to form properly, so it could lead to heart issues, cardiovascular issues. There are so many related issues and problems that can develop just from you not sleeping enough. And of course, your immune system will become a lot less effective.
Okay, thank you very much for answering that question. So we know that from lack of sleep, we could lose our sight and also it affect our brain. The next question is, do older adults experience more sleep problems? So people that maybe over the age of 50, do they have more sleep problems than younger people that maybe 30 or younger?
Interestingly enough, we're finding that a lot more younger people are having problems with sleep deprivation. Older people, yes, historically they were, the leading client group for having problems with sleep because of their dietary habits or, their levels of stress that they're incorporating or building or accumulating. But when we've started to see a lot more younger people, we're starting to discover a new trend amongst younger people who are having problems with sleep, partly because of their use of the internet. A big part of it is their mental health. A lot of them are suffering with depression. They're sleeping late at night. They're using different means and methods to try and distract themselves from the fact that they can't sleep. They're engaging in PlayStation. They're maybe looking at social media. And also because they don't have the coping mechanism, they don't have the benefit of experience of how to deal with their stress and the different outlets that they can maybe tap into to help them to cope more effectively. So we find that more and more younger people are starting to experience problems with sleep, which is having a detrimental effect on their mental health.
Thank you very much for answering that question again. So we know that not only adults have problems with sleep, even very young people as young as teenagers are having problems. So how long should it take me to fall asleep if I was okay and everything was okay?
Well, once your body is working to what we call order, you have a thing called your circadian rhythm, which is in the hypothalamus, which is the part that sits in the brain that regulates your sleep and wake cycle. When your hypothalamus and your circadian rhythm is working to order, by 9 o'clock, you have what you call the repairman, the body repairman. It's like the body's natural anesthetist. It will release a hormone into the brain called serotonin. And serotonin will then convert into melatonin, which will then start to shut the body down. So from 9 o'clock, it starts that process. So by 10 o'clock, you should start nodding off. So when your body's working to order, between 9 and 10, you should start to feel the sleep cycle coming on because your body's getting ready to go into that regenerative state and that regenerative cycle. So within an hour, half an hour to an hour, by 10 o'clock, 10:30, you should be sleeping. So minimum half an hour from 9:30, maximum 90 minutes from 9 to 10:30.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much for answering that question again. So are you telling us that we should go to bed at 9 o'clock, or that our body clock is telling us to go to bed at 9 o'clock? Or is 9 o'clock the best time to go to bed? Well,
9 o'clock is the optimal time, but let's say 10 o'clock, because that way it gives you that ample time of 7 hours sleep. Between 6 and 8 hours is optimal. But 9 o'clock is the time that the body clock starts to initiate that sleep cycle when the body's working to order. So by 10 o'clock, you should be nodding off. If you're not nodding off at the right time, between 10 and 11, you'll start to find your eyes will start to get heavy because you've got a lot of blood rushing to the brain. So your eyes will start to fill up, your eyes will start to get red because that's the blood going to the brain, getting ready to start regenerating the brain, which is the place it starts to repair first of all. Then it goes down into the eyes, and it goes to the sinuses, and it gets to the mouth, the throat, the heart. It starts to repair the heart by about 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock, it starts getting into the liver. By about 3, it starts going into the kidney. This is when the body's working to order, and this is when a lot of people start to find they're waking up in the night to go to the loo because their body is now working on the bladder to remove all the impurities from the blood and put it into the bladder. And that's when people generally start to find they're waking up in the night and their sleep becomes disturbed because of their again, that's linked to the lack of water, which is the H in our home protocol. So there's a lot we can say about sleep and how the body works in order, but ideally, you want to be going to your bed by 10 o'clock in order to get maximum repair work from your brain right down to your toes.
Thank you so much again for answering that question. The next question is, how can I get a better night's sleep? What are the things that I need to do to make sure that I'm able to have a good night's sleep? You just said to me that we can have 8 hours sleep. So what are the things that you can suggest that I can do to make me go to bed at 9 or make me have 8 hours sleep or good night's sleep?
Good night's sleep. Well, the first thing you want to look at is your things that are preventing you from sleeping. So things like your mobile phone use, things like your radiation exposure, things like the lighting in your house. You have a thing called a sleep audit, where you audit your surroundings to see how many things are working in support of your sleep and how many things you have are working against your ability to sleep. So, your microwave exposure, your radiation exposure, your Wi-Fi, these things all have a negative effect on your ability to sleep, because if you're using your mobile phone at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock when you're about to go to sleep, that's providing maximum radiation into the body. It's also providing optimal stimulation for the brain. So the brain is going to perceive that as light, just like it perceives the Wi-Fi signal. When the Wi-Fi signal is still on, it will perceive that as light as well coming into the brain. So these all provide additional stimulus for the brain, which then tells the brain that you're not ready to go to sleep because you've still got lots of activity that your brain is trying to engage with. So things like turning off your Wi-Fi will help you to have a better night's sleep. Things like not having your mobile phone next to your bed, because you can have all that radiation being, projected directly into your brain, will have another very positive impact on your sleep. Things like not using your tablets in your bed, things like making sure your room is very dark, because again, your circadian rhythm, as you talked about earlier, where you have that part in the hypothalamus in the brain that regulates your sleep cycle, but it uses light as one of the main triggers to know what time of day it is and what cycle you should be in. So if your room has got too much light coming in, that is also going to have an impact on the brain and the body's ability to shut down and to get deep restful sleep. So there's quite a few things that you can look at to make sure that you're doing all the right things to ensure your sleeping is going to be optimized. But it's just becoming aware that if you're not sleeping, there are a lot of things that are in your immediate environment that you can actually change that could have a positive impact on your quality and level of sleep.
Thank you so much, Doctor, for answering the question again. So I should put my mobile phone off 1 hour before I go to bed, or just have it off when I get back from work?
A minimum of 1 hour before you sleep, so that way your brain can start to shut down and release all the radio waves that have been channeled into your brain from having that constant bombardment of that extra radiation activity. So 1 hour before you go to sleep would be ideal.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much for answering the question. I've still got a couple more questions to ask you about sleep, but I'll move on to the next question, and which is parasite. Parasite is one of the things that I notice affect a lot of our clients that come to the office. So the first question is, can you feel a parasite move inside your stomach?
The only time you can feel a parasite moving in the stomach is when you fed it so much that it's got to the point where it's so big that you can actually feel, or you can actually perceive that there's something in your system that is foreign to your system, or that is not part of your system. Most times, 9 times out of 10, you don't feel any existence, or you don't feel any notable changes within your digestive system or digestive function. Because parasites are very, very stealth. They're very, very quiet. They move very quietly below the radar. So that way they're able to do what they do without you noticing them. And if you don't notice them, or you don't notice that they're there, you won't do anything about them. So parasites they play a huge role in disease and the form of disease. Even in COVID-19, there's been a huge body of work and study that's been linked to the impact of parasites in the onset of the symptoms of COVID-19. And if you notice, a lot of the main medicines or the main remedies that they've been touting for dealing with COVID have been things like ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, hydroxychloroquine. And if you look at the source or the origin or the natural use of these products, these are all anti-parasitic medicine. Hydroxychloroquine is used extensively to deal with the malaria parasite in sub-Saharan Africa. So there are a lot of medicines that have been used very effectively to deal with COVID because of the effect they have on parasites. So parasites are something that you don't really know about, you don't really notice them, but they're very, very, very heavily involved in the onset of disease. So no, you don't feel them predominantly, but yes, you can if you fed them to a level that they become noticeable.
Thank you so much again for answering the question. But we have had situations where customers have actually said that they feel movement in their stomach or things running around in their stomach. What does that mean when that happens?
I mean, it could vary. There are different organisms and microorganisms that are part of what we call the microbiome. Now, your microbiome is the composition of all the bacteria, the parasites, the fungus, the viruses, that all make up that ecosystem that makes up your microbiome within your body. You actually have a trillion different microcells. In fact, the microbiome and the DNA of those different pathogens and those different microbes are actually more than your human DNA. There's more DNA of the microbes that live in your gut, in your body, and on your body than there are actually DNA of the actual human body. So there's a huge ecosystem that needs to be kept in balance and kept in order by your immune system, of which parasites are a key part, viruses are a key part, bacteria are a key part, fungus are a key part. The objective of the immune system is to keep them all in order, to keep them in balance. The only time they become a problem is when you start to get an overgrowth of any one of these systems, or an imbalance in any of these systems. You have too much fungus, then you get a fungal infection. You have too much parasites, you get a parasitic infection. You have too much bacteria, then you get a bacterial infection. You have too many viruses or too many virus cells replicating, then you get a viral infection. That's the only time you'll start to notice symptoms. But once you understand that you have a microbiome, that these things are part of your body, you can then start to be proactive about making sure you do what is required to maintain balance within that system. And once you start to maintain balance, it makes it a lot harder for symptoms to start to develop, and it's a lot easier for you to maintain good levels of health without having to worry about the parasitic overgrowth.
Thank you so much again for answering that question. I'm going to combine the two questions together. Are fungus and ringworm, are they parasites?
Fungus are fungi. Well, they're like spores. They're part of that ecosystem within the body. Parasites are protozoa. They have different types of parasites. You have parasites that live in the liver. You have parasites that live in the gut. They're a part of, as I said, that ecosystem, and they both play a role in regulating and modulating your immune system. For example, if you have a heavy metal overload in your body, parasites are the first ones to go into action to start to almost embed themselves or to wrap the metals around their body. That's a way that they can help to remove some of the load of heavy metals from your body. So again, these are parasites working in support of your body and of your body's immune system. There are times when you have too many parasites. That's when you're going to start to have parasitic overgrowth, when you start to have problems with your gut, problems with the digestive system. This normally comes about as a result of you maybe eating too many of the wrong type of foods, having too much of the foods on a sugar profile. Most people that have a sweet tooth, for example, they have an inordinate amount of parasites that are craving for sweet foods or sweet type profile foods. They come alive, especially at night. That's when you find yourself going to the cupboard to go, getting some biscuits, maybe having some cookies or some chocolate at night, because that particular parasite is now going to be craving for that particular type of food. Fungus, on the other hand, when you have a fungus, again, fungus is part of that microbiome. Again, it's there to train and support your immune system. But when you have too many parasites, you've already set that cycle of imbalance in motion, because you've now got too much of one type of food, which is now going to throw the ecosystem out of balance. You're now going to have the fungus, just like the weeds in your garden, it's going to start to overgrow. And when the fungi start to overgrow, it starts to overwhelm the immune system. The immune system can no longer keep them in balance. And when the immune system can no longer keep them in balance, that's when you become susceptible to things like fungal infections, ringworm, things that are going to affect your skin, fungus that can affect your toes, fungus that can affect your lungs. And when these fungus start to grow, just like the weeds in your garden, they can take over the whole energy, and they start to absorb the energy. They can take over the whole ecosystem of the garden. They start pulling up the fences, they start absorbing all the nutrients from the soil, and they just start to feed on your food. And then the body that requires the nutrients, that requires the food, then becomes in a state of malnourishment. So fungus and parasites, they can be good for the body, but they can also be quite detrimental if they are allowed to get into dysbiosis, imbalance, which is called dysbiosis.
Well, thank you so much for answering the question again. The last and final question: how do I get rid of parasites in my body? And if I start getting rid of them, can I stop in the middle?
Okay, parasite cleanse is a very, very good way to start cleansing the parasites from your body. We have a number of different ways that we help to cleanse parasites from the body. We have a parasite and heavy metal cleanse, because I said they work quite closely together. But to get rid of parasites, the first thing you need to start doing is cleansing the gut. You need to cleanse the environment to make sure that the environment is no longer conducive to their proliferation. So if you have a gut that's very full of foods, processed foods, or a diet that's very rich in processed food, very rich in fried food, very rich in sugar profile foods, this is going to be part of the tools that parasites will use to strengthen their colony. So if you want to start looking at cleansing parasites on your body, the first thing you want to do is make sure you have a good cleanse of your gut, have a good cleanse of your colon, and B, remove the foods from your diet that the parasites are using to strengthen themselves, to feed themselves, and to rebuild their colony within your gut. So parasite cleanse are very important. We have things like Ultra Detox, we have things like Zeoflush, we have things like OxyFlush. These are all some of the tools that we use, and I'm sure we'll speak about them as we proceed today, that you can use to really start to do some serious damage in the colonies of parasites within your body.
So one last question regarding parasite before we move on. What foods actually feed the parasites? Like what sort of things would I be craving that will make me know that I've got parasites or my parasites are getting increased?
Okay, parasites love the foods you love, and they also hate the foods you hate. So whatever you love, they love. Whatever you hate, they hate. If you love sugar, they love sugar. If you hate greens, they hate greens. So foods like anything, they feed on anything. That's why they're called parasites. They basically absorb all the nutrients from the food that you're eating, especially the non-nutrients, the foods that don't have any nutrients within them. That's what parasites feed on. So when you have those high diets that are rich in biscuits, that are rich in processed food, that are rich in pasta, that are rich in carbohydrate type foods, bread that has a lot of yeast, rice, parasites love these sort of food. Even seasonings like Maggi, aromat, they thrive on those sort of food because they love that sort of salt profile. If you're a person that has a lot of savory foods in their diet. On the same token, they love things like chocolate, they love ice cream, they love things like tobacco, they love alcohol. Anything you love, they love. So if you really want to, get your parasite and get your cravings under control, you want to start, as I said, cleansing the parasites first, but secondly, recognizing that the foods that you love the most are the ones that are causing you the most problems and feeding your parasites.
Cool. Thank you so much. And before we move on, I'm just going to ask a question from Aneta. She says, how many times does one have to go to the bathroom at night? So how many times do I have to get up to go to the bathroom at night?
If you're having an operation in a hospital, for example, and the anesthetist has put you under the anesthetic, they've shut your body down so that they can perform their operation and make sure that you are completely immobilized in order for them to complete their work. The body does the same thing with the serotonin. It releases that anesthetic at 9 o'clock, which comes into action by 10, and it wants to shut your body down until 6 in the morning when you're released to wake up, having gone through your full repair and ready to start your day. Any interruption to that process is going to cause a lot of problems for the body's natural repair cycle. It's going to cause a lot of interference for the body's natural repair cycle. Just like you waking up to answer your phone in the middle of a very serious triple bypass operation is not going to be very beneficial to your body or to the doctors and the nurses that are working on your body that's in the middle of a very open wound operation. So the answer to your question is your body should not wake up at all during your night sleep. You shouldn't wake up. The only thing you should do is roll over to go from one type of sleep into another type of sleep. You should not wake up to go to the toilet. You shouldn't wake up to go to the bathroom. You shouldn't wake up to check your phone. You should not be waking up when your body is in that sleep cycle. Any type of waking up is a sign that there's a disorder in the natural flow of your body maintaining your body in good health. Waking up in the night is a sign that your muscles in your bladder are weak because they're not able to hold the water that your body is removing out of the bladder, putting into the bladder, ready for removal in the morning. It's not putting something into your bladder so your body can get up, go and dump it in the toilet, come back an hour later, go up and do it again. It doesn't work like that. When your body works to order, it wants you to be asleep throughout the whole night. Even when you go to sleep at night, your eyes, it produces a glue that holds your eyes down to show that your body is completely out of action and ready for repair. A sign that your body is ready to wake up is that the glue will fall away naturally and your eyes will open. If you wake up in the morning and you've still got what they call matter in your eyes, that's the eye glue, that means your body had not completed its work of operating on repairing your body. So the answer to your question is you should not wake up at all during the night. The amount of times you wake up shows the level of disorder and level of weakness in your bladder and more importantly, the bladder muscles.
So regarding that question, so what do I do to stop myself from waking up at night?
Okay, very good question. When we do the Hearn protocol, part of the Hearn protocol is H. H is for hydration. The reason why you're waking up in the night is because your muscles, your bladder muscles have become atrophied. That means they've become tired. They're starting to waste away. They haven't got the holding capacity to be able to hold water. So what we do with those is just like when you want to strengthen your muscles, any other muscles in your body, you'll take them to the gym. How do we take our bladder muscles to the gym? is that we really hydrate ourselves during the day. We heavily hydrate ourselves. We use what's called hydrotherapy, where we drink copious amounts of water during the day, which then puts a lot of work or puts a lot of strain and pressure and resistance on the muscles to strengthen their capacity. As you're drinking more during the day, your bladder muscles are opening, they're releasing the water, you're going to the toilet to wee, they're closing. You're drinking more water, they open, it closes. The muscles are being put through their paces, they're working. When you drink, most of our clients, when they find they've drunk more water than they've ever drunk in their life, they cannot understand how when they've drunk 4 or 5 times more than their normal intake of water during the day, that when they go to bed, they find they're not waking up in the night or they're waking up less. They can't correlate the two because most people associate the level of you waking up in the night to the level of water you've taken in. Wrong. The reason you're even going to be taking water in at night is because you're dehydrated, which means you haven't drunk enough water during the day. This is why your body's calling, as it goes into that natural operation, it's calling on you to give it more water because it hasn't had a sufficient amount to do what it needs to do during the day. So now you're going to drink a lot more during the night, which is not really advisable. Yes, you can drink a little bit, to sustain the processes overnight, but you shouldn't really be taking large amounts of water into your body at night anyway. The objective is to fill your body with water during the day, strengthen the muscles so that when you go to bed at night, your muscles are nice and strong and they can hold whatever they receive from the blood until the morning, which is the natural time for the body to wake up and release any waste from your bladder and to release any waste from your bowels. That's when your body's working to order.
Well, thank you so much for answering that question. We've got another question again from that waking up at night question. And this time is, sometimes I wake up twice during the night. What does that mean when I wake up 2 times or 3 times during the night?
You're dehydrated. You're dehydrated. You've not drunk enough water during the day, and you've had a long period of not drinking enough water during the day, which has caused your muscles, your bladder muscles to become atrophied, which means they're now starting to experience a level of wastage. The muscles have become weak. In order for you to reverse that, you need to start increasing your water intake during the day. If you drink 2 liters a day, drink 4. If you drink 3 liters a day, drink 6. Your body is designed to process water. Your body is 70% water. So people think, oh, I'm going to drink too much water, I'm going to drown. Nonsense. Never happened before, never happened to anybody. Your body needs water for every single function. Every single process requires water. And most people are walking around in a state of what we call UCD, which means unintentional chronic dehydration. And this is the reason why they're having a lot of other problems that are related to that dehydration, which means things like joint pain, back pains, arthritis, dry skin, hair loss, different issues that are all related to water. What is the opposite of dry? Wet. So if you have dry skin, that means you haven't got enough hydration. There's not enough water. If you've got dry hair, dry scalp, that means there's not enough water reaching the scalp. Again, because you're dehydrated. So waking up in the night is a sure sign that you're dehydrated, and it's very easy to remedy. You simply have to increase your water during the day so you can strengthen the bladder muscles and increase their capacity to hold water during the night.
Okay, all right, the same person is asking a question again. Would you recommend I drink water just before I go to bed? Would that help the situation?
Yes, you can drink water just before you go to bed, just to keep yourself hydrated and to keep the systems, well serviced. But make sure you've done the majority of your drinking, of your hydration during the day. Try and drink as much water as you can during the time when your body's able to process that water, eliminate any excess or any waste that's been produced as a result of that water. And so when you come to the time when you're supposed to go to sleep, your body doesn't have an overload of water that's now going to place an additional burden on the bladder. So try and drink the maximum amount you can drink during the day. Have a small glass of water at night, because of course it's going to help to keep your lungs lubricated, it's going to keep your mouth lubricated. It will keep all your organs that require water, it will keep them well serviced, but don't make your main ingestion of water be at night. Let your main ingestion of water be done during the day.
Thank you so much for answering that question. I've got a question from Grace. She says, please, what are the causes of excess burping? So what causes that?
Excess burping means there's a lot of gas in your system. Again, one part of that equation is the level of water that's available in your gut, because every single function and process in the body requires water. If your gut doesn't have enough water, it's going to impact the level of absorption of food that's able to be broken down within your gut, which is also going to have a knock-on effect on the level of acid that's produced within your gut. If your body is producing too much acid, that's a sign that your liver is working over hard or extremely hard to try and break down the food when it's trying to do it by itself. If, for example, there's not enough water in your gut, imagine trying to make a meal and you've got a lot of, tomatoes in the pot and you haven't got any oil, you haven't got enough oil. Those tomatoes are going to start bubbling over. And when those tomatoes start to bubble over, you need to either add some water, or you need to add some oil, or you need to add something that's going to maillard or merge with those tomatoes to allow them to absorb the heat and to keep them bubbling at a nice, easy temperature, that way the food can cook healthily. If you've only got the tomatoes and there's not enough water, those tomatoes are going to start to process themselves in a way that's not going to be very nutritious or very enjoyable for you to eat. The same way with the stomach. If the stomach doesn't have enough water to digest the food, the other organs, the surrounding organs such as the liver, the kidney, the digestive system, they're going to start to produce excess amount of gas or acid, to try and compensate for the lack of digestive juices available in the gut, which is now going to leave you with an excess or a surplus of acid or a surplus of gas, which is now going to have to be released through excess burping or passing wind, either through your esophagus or from your anus. So either way, the body has to now eliminate that excess gas that's been produced because there's been an imbalance in one of the other areas, which could be due to your water or due to not having enough other enzymes that are available to help digest your food.
Okay, next question is from Colbert, again, water-related question. And when I drink a couple of liters of water in a day, I am in and out of the toilet every 10 to 20 minutes. Is this normal, or am I just having a weak bladder?
It's a bit of both. It's better to have the water during the day and for you to be in and out of the toilet, because that way you're flushing out all the impurities, you're flushing out all the toxins. You know, we want to get people to have a perception of going to the toilet as a good thing. People see going to the toilet, going to wee as an inconvenience. Look at it like this. If you don't go to the toilet, all the toxins that you've accumulated in your body from your food, from your breakfast, from the night before, from your diet, from the air, from the water you've drunk, those toxins are still going to remain in your body. When you urinate, you've given your body a chance to release a lot of those additional toxins, a lot of those additional parasites, a lot of those additional fungus, a lot of those additional pathogens that could be disease-causing, that you've now eliminated from your body via your bladder. Going to the toilet, every 20 minutes, yes, it could be inconveniencing, but it's better to be going every 20 minutes during the day rather than you going and waking up every 20 minutes during the night, which is going to have a knock-on effect and a negative effect on your quality of sleep. So yes and no, it's kind of like a double-edged coin. Yes, it's good because you're getting rid of the waste and toxins. Yes, also it's good because you're strengthening your bladder muscles. No, it's not good if you're a teacher or you have a job that it requires you to be in one place and not, darting in and out of the toilet every 20 minutes.
Thank you so much for answering those questions. Please keep putting your questions on the chat and we'll stop as we go along to ask the questions. Again, going back to sleep question, what causes me to snore at night? What is the cause of snoring?
Snoring is linked to blockage. Where there's a blockage in your lung, which could be from the overproduction of mucus, it could be from overproduction of fungus, it could be from overproduction of pathogens or bacteria that are replicating and multiplying within your lungs. Well, there's going to be some form of blockage that's going to cause you to snore because it's interfering with the flow of air within your respiratory system. So we generally have a product that we use called Respirate. When we use the Respirate, it's a natural essential oil blend that really helps to use aromatherapy and the natural oils to go into the lungs and to destroy and break down a lot of the excess mucus that may have built up in the lungs. It also helps to destroy any excess bacteria that may be accumulating in the lungs and any additional viruses that may also be accumulating in the lungs. When you get rid of all those bacteria, it helps to clear the airway and give you a much free-flowing, much freer flow of air through your respiratory system. When you have that free-flowing air, it then eliminates that need for snoring, and it eliminates that whole process that's linked to you snoring. We've had people come to us. I've had a client once, it was quite funny. His wife did a program and we cleansed the gut, we cleansed the blood, and we helped to cleanse the respiratory system. And the man was so excited. He said, I need to meet the guy that stopped my wife of 16 years from snoring. I need to meet this guy. So he came in just to say thank you, because we managed to stop his wife from snoring through doing one of our detox programs. So we know that snoring is something that could very easily be remedied and reversed once you're aware of what the cause is and what the relevant intervention you need to bring it into submission.
Well, thank you so much for answering that question. So what are some of the causes of indigestion?
Of indigestion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, indigestion is when your body is trying to digest food. Let's use an analogy of a frying pan. You have a frying pan and you want to put, I don't know, a portion of a pot of chips in the frying pan. Not the best analogy, but let's just use it for the sake of articulation. You have a pot of oil, or you have a pan, and you want to put those chips into the pan, and they go into the pan. The only way those chips are going to fry is if there's oil in there, number one, and the oil is hot, number two. That way, that process of transforming those food from raw potatoes into chips is going to take place very naturally and organically. If, on the other hand, you put those chips into that pan and there's no oil, or they put the chips in the pan and the oil is cold, what are those chips going to do? They're going to come back up, because they're looking for where they can find the oil, they can find the heat that can allow them to go through that process of frying in order for them to transform raw potatoes into chips. The same way when your body receives food, it needs all those acids, it needs the water, it needs that perfect environment to enable the food to be broken down into micromolecules and macromolecules in order for the nutrients to be separated and then extracted and then absorbed by the cells. But they have to be broken down into micromolecules, into tiny pieces, to enable them to be absorbed. If you don't have the right amount of acid, if you don't have the right level of enzymes, if you don't have the right level of hydration, that process is not going to take place. You're going to end up in a state of indigestion, which means food that is not digested, because you haven't got the right resources available to do that. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you so much for answering the question. So what are some of the medication or medicines that we take that cause indigestion?
Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory interventions. So a lot of those steroids, a lot of those ibuprofen, anything that will interfere with the smooth order of the stomach and the digestive system. Anything that interferes with that process, that damages the stomach lining, that interferes with your flow or your flora of bacteria, it's going to have a negative impact on your body's ability to digest and indeed to absorb food. So having medication, long-term medication, is not a good place to be. It's not a good regime to follow. If you take a lot of blood pressure medication, for example, they have a very, very, very damaging effect on the stomach. That's why oftentimes they prescribe omeprazole to try and manage or to try and offset some of the more adverse effects and reactions that will be happening within the stomach, and more importantly, the lining of the gut. So a lot of these medicines, they actually damage the lining of the gut, which will then allow food that should be digested and encased within the stomach to now begin to enter into the bloodstream and start to cause inflammation and wreak havoc in other tissues and other systems within the body. So any medication that you take for a long period of time would have some kind of detrimental effect on your stomach. So try to get yourself in a state where you're not having to rely on medicine, but or more importantly, that you're starting to use or incorporate food as your medicine, as opposed to medicine as your food.
Well, thank you so much for answering that question. What are some of the foods that might cause that sort of situation in the client or in anyone generally?
Foods that can cause indigestion, anything that places a huge burden on your digestive system. So things that are hard to digest, spicy foods, which have a high level of acidity within them. If you haven't got a very good acid base in your stomach, that's going to put a strain on the small available resources of stomach acid to digest them. So that's going to end up in a situation of indigestion, because you haven't got enough acid to break down that food, which may end up with that food coming back up to try and find another way or another place for it to be broken down. So spicy foods have an impact on digestion. Foods that are heavy or heavily cooked, as soon as you cook, fry, bake, steam, boil, grill, you kill all the enzymes in food. So once you've killed all the enzymes in food through cooking or heating, that is also going to put a huge burden on the digestive system's ability to A, recognize that food or recognize it as food, and B, to know what tools to use to be able to break it down and to digest it and to be able to eliminate it in a timely manner. So any foods that are cooked are going to have a significant effect on your digestive system. Foods that are processed, foods that are high in salt, foods that are high sugar, foods that have hydrogenated fats, any kind of foods that are they may taste nice, but they're not necessarily nutritionally beneficial to the body. These are going to have a negative effect and impact on your digestive system, and probably end up with you having indigestion as a result of it.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. Before I go on to ask the last question about indigestion, I just wanted to ask a question on behalf of Barbara. She says, I drink 2 liters of water daily. With the hot weather, I'm drinking 3 to 4. It makes me go toilet every 2 hours throughout the day and at night, and I'm drinking too much throughout the day and night. Am I drinking too much water, or should I stop drinking early?
That is a fantastic question. Fantastic question. Now, the best way to answer that question is not to tell you how much water to drink, but to look at how much water you actually use. How much water are you using on a daily basis? If, for example, you're drinking 2 liters a day, I think Jamie Oliver was the one that coined that phrase, women should drink 2 liters a day, men should drink 2.5 or 3 liters or 8 cups, whatever nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Your 2 liters a day is got to be reflective of your level of usage of water. What do I mean by that? If you're a teacher, you spend all day talking, you're going to be using a lot of saliva, you're going to be standing on your feet a lot, which will be using a lot of water to support your muscles. If, say, as a teacher, you also go to the gym, or you're a PE teacher, which means you're sweating a lot, you're going to be using even more water. So your 2 liters may only go as far as maybe only refilling maybe a quarter or even a third of your body's requirement for water based on its usage. So your water intake should always match or reflect your water usage. So if you're only drinking 2 liters and you're probably using 4 or you're using 5 liters worth of water, then you're at a huge deficit. And yes, your muscles will still be quite weak and you may have some atrophy, which will then result in you waking up in the night. So the first thing I'd recommend for you to do is A, look at your usage, how much water you're using or consuming or actually processing during the day. Then make a comparison to the amount of water you're taking in. We actually just did a podcast on water, and we go into real depth and detail on how much water you should use, what's the right amount of water, what's the right time to drink, etc., etc. We have that in our podcast, which you can find. Where's our podcast? Our podcast, we'll have to share it with you. I don't even know where it's hosted. I think it's on Anchor or Spotify. We've got it on Spotify, but it's there. And it's linked to a 1 gallon a day challenge that we're going to be starting at the end of next month, where you get your all challenge to drink 1 gallon a day. And there's a whole plethora of conditions that will be reversed as a result of you doing that 1 gallon a day, which I think is 4.5 liters every day for 30 days. There'll be so many things that you will find that will change. Your back pain will disappear, your joint pain, your knee pain will disappear. Your waking up in the night will just become like a distant memory. So many things will change as a result of you following that challenge. But once you get to listen to the podcast, you'll get the full details of how you can take part in that 30-day challenge. Even if you do it for 7 days or 14 days, you'll still get a lot of benefits. But yes, your water intake should match your usage. You need to make sure you're looking at how much water you're using and to see if that 2 liters is enough, which it sounds like it's not. So if you really want to make sure you can stop going to the toilet during the day and during the night, number one is that you want to first look at your usage, and then secondly, look at how can I increase my water usage, because 90% of the clients that we've had that have had problems waking up in the night, once you've increased their water, that problem has reduced or completely reversed.
Thank you so much for answering the question again. I've got quite a few questions coming about water. FT Church says, so if my job is mostly sedentary, do I need to drink 4 liters?
If you have a sedentary job, that means you've got a lot of time. You can actually sit down, which means it'll be easier for you to drink 4 liters and then to get up and go to the toilet, because that means you'll be able to do a bit more exercise. You'll be able to get up and walk around. You'll be able to use your muscles a little bit more, have a little more exercise in that process as well. So yes, if you're sedentary in your job, then it depends on your level of hydration at the time you start your day. If, for example, you started this day or this month, July, with a huge deficit, then you sitting down or drinking 2 liters a day is maybe the right amount for you, or it may not be enough. But it depends on how you start your day, or how you start your week, or how you start your month. If you find you already got the right amount of water in your body and you spend a lot of time sitting down, then you can adjust it accordingly. If you find you got too much, then you can reduce the water. If you find you don't have enough, then it's a great opportunity for you to increase your levels of hydration, in spite of the fact you're sitting down. Because if you are sitting down and you're drinking a lot while you're sitting, every time your body has finished processing the water that you've drunk, it's going to get you up and take you into the bathroom for you to wee. And I'll tell you what you can use as a measure. If, for example, you're sitting down all day and you're drinking whatever amount of water you drink your 2 liters, and you find you're waking up in the night, that's a sure sign that although you're sedentary, you still haven't got enough water, that you're already operating at a deficit. If you find that you are waking up in the night, then while you're sitting down during the day, try and have yourself a 5-liter bottle of water, or 1.5 liters, and have that, and try and finish those between the morning and the evening, and then do that for 7 days, and then measure how many times you wake up in the night, or what level of reduction you find in your waking up in the night as a result of your increase in your hydration.
Thank you so much again for answering that question. Annetta has got another question. It says, although I drink lots of water in the day, I don't know if it's because I perspire heavily, but I go to the toilet 4 to 5 times a night. Is this normal?
Now you're getting it. You're looking at perspiration. That is another use of water, because every time you perspire, your body's losing water. You need to make sure you replenish that. So yes, if you're perspiring a lot and you're drinking a small amount, if you're very active during the day, that means you're putting your body under quite a lot of exertion. So your body's going to be requiring a lot of water to sustain the level of work and the level of energy that it's producing to sustain your daily activities. So yes, if you're perspiring, that's a sign that you're using a lot of water. If you're very active during the day, which it sounds like you are, that's also another sign you're using a lot of water. So again, these are all telltale signs of the level of water you need to replace or replenish that will have an impact on reducing you waking up in the night. So very good question, Annette. I'm glad that you've identified that even perspiring is another strain or another drain on your water usage within your body and within the day.
So Corbett says, I still wake up once or twice in the night, some nights, even though I go during the day a lot. So is that okay?
That's fine. So it seems like you're getting to that place of balance now, because once or twice in the night sounds like you were waking up before. I'm sure I remember Corbett's one of our clients. So I think when she first came, she had a lot more issues with waking up in the night. And if you're waking up only 1 or 2 times now, as compared to 3 or 4 times before, that's a sign that you're definitely on the right track, and you're definitely having a lot of repair, making a lot of impact on your bladder and their function. Now, there may be an additional requirement, to the muscles. If you're strengthening the muscles, that's great. But then the muscles may also need some additional nutrients to ensure that they can not just only have a greater capacity, but have the great level of strength to repair them and to make sure that they're working optimally. So yes, you may have the strength by doing the resistance, but just like with your muscles, when you build your muscles, going to the gym and giving them lots of water is one part. But you also have to make sure you've got the right food, you've got the right levels of protein, all the things that you need to build tissue, to build muscle, to build amino acids, to build your cells are also going to be part of that process. So once you've got your water intake right, so now you want to start looking at your nutrition to make sure you've got the right amount of nutrients to support the strengthening of those muscles.
Thank you for answering that question. Annetta again. She says, I was informed that I should take Ibuprofen for pain in my knee. So is this the cause of my indigestion?
No. That's like the chicken before the egg. If you had problems with your knee, that's already a sign that you had the issues with your water intake, because your knees rely on the levels of hydration that your body provides to keep what you call the synovial fluids well stocked up. Your synovial fluids are the cushion, the gel that's formed in between your joints. You have them in your knees, you also have them in your spine, you have them in your vertebra, in your back, especially your lower back. It's what separates each vertebra from rubbing against each other. If you find that that cushion becomes dry, you're now going to get bone rubbing against bone. And when that bone rubs against bone, you're going to start getting a lot of irritation, which will lead to inflammation. That joint then becomes inflamed. How did this happen? Because you didn't have enough hydration. There wasn't enough water to distribute to go around the body. So the body had to prioritize where the available water was dispatched or deployed. In order to reverse that, the first thing you need to do is increase your hydration across the board. And then your body will start to fill up that synovial fluid, that synovial cushion, which will then start to provide that fluid that's needed for that fluidity and for that ease of movement within the knee joint. And then you'll find that you don't have, or you have a lesser need for the anti-inflammatory or the ibuprofen, because you've reduced the inflammation that was caused by the dehydration by making sure you've increased your water. So having a stomach problem that was caused by dehydration is not going to be resolved by you putting something that's going to increase your levels of inflammation by using anti-inflammatory. Most people do that, make that same mistake, and they all do the same thing. They think, no, I've got a problem with my knee. Let me take some. No, drink more water, increase the hydration, do the 30-day challenge, do the 1 gallon a day challenge for 30 days, and you'll see how your knees will become like brand new knees.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for answering the question. This question is from Helen. She says, how long do you need to take the respirator to stop snoring?
Good question again. It depends on the level of the state of your gut. It depends on the level of bacteria that's accumulated in your lungs. If you have a problem with your gut, life and death begin in the gut. Most problems, 90% of problems within the body, they begin in the gut. If you have a lot of food that's not being digested properly because you've got some issue with your digestive system, that means that food is not going to be broken down and it's not going to be absorbed properly, and it's also not going to be eliminated. So when you have food in your gut that's not eliminated, that means you've got a lot of food in that quite warm environment that will start to ferment. When that food starts to ferment, it's going to attract a lot of toxins, a lot of fungus, a lot of bacteria, which has no place to go other than to continue to multiply within the gut. And oftentimes they will start to enter the blood, or they'll enter the lungs, because every time you take a breath, it's bacteria coming up from your stomach. So if you have a bad gut or you have a leaky gut, the first thing you want to do to really help to impact your lungs is to start cleansing your gut, start changing that environment to make it no longer conducive for the overproduction of those harmful bacteria, which are making their way into your lungs. Once you start to cleanse the gut, then you can start to get a much more better effect from using the respirator, because the respirator will then start to take on or address the remaining bacteria that are still within the lung. But trying to use a respirator on its own without dealing with the gut and the other parts of the body is going to be a little bit of a futile exercise, because you're putting too much pressure on one intervention to deal with something that needs a more multi-system approach.
Thank you so much for answering the question, and thank you, Doctor, again for joining us. I don't know what to do now, because obviously we've got lots of questions to tackle. So what we're going to do is, if you don't mind, we'll invite you to come back next week so that you can answer the many more questions that we have. But thank you so much again for answering our questions.
No,
I will just...
Maybe they can put the questions in advance so that we can tackle them earlier on as we start. If they put the questions in advance, they can send them in via the WhatsApp, via Telegram, whatever devices, platforms are available. That way we can answer them, a lot quicker and a lot earlier. We can maybe get a lot more new ones in as well. But thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure. We can go on for ages and ages and ages. We just love sharing information and really starting to dispel a lot of myths and a lot of misconceptions or misinformation that people have been subject to really help them to get the right information so they can make the right decisions to really take their health to the next level. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. One last question. Does age have an impact on how many times one uses the bathroom at night? I think we asked the question at the beginning, but Grace is asking the question again. No, because anybody can strengthen their muscles. Everybody has the same level of muscles. Anyone can strengthen their muscles. Even an 80-year-old doesn't wake up in the night. If they have the right levels of hydration, they are not going to wake up in the night, because they've got the right levels of hydration. As we mentioned earlier, they've also got the right levels of nutrition to make sure they can support healthy function and regeneration and growth of those particular muscles. So no, age doesn't have any impact on the function of your muscles. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Just to let everyone know, we're here every week Thursday from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. For those that have joined us today for the first time, welcome. We're here every week. For those that are always joining us, we want to say thank you for joining us every week. The link is exactly the same. We've got a new Telegram group for the Juice Doctor where you can pop in all your questions, and we would obviously make sure we answer them next week. The week after, we will be starting a new topic titled menopause. So we're going to be doing menopause series. We got a doctor that came last week coming back again on the 18th of August. So if you do have any questions for the doctor, Dr. Zoe that came to us last week, please send me the questions so I can send it to her ahead of time. Just want to say thank you again, once again, to everyone that joined us today. The Juice Doctors agreed to come back next week. So please come with your questions, come early so you can put your questions in. But we also have questions that we would like to ask him as well. If anyone would like to book an appointment for the Bioscan, you can send us a text on the number that is on the chat, or you can text me if you got my personal number as well, and then I'll book you in for a scan. From next month, we're going to be having what we call a Wellness Wednesday, where people can pop into the office for 1 hour. I'll let you know what time, and then you can come face to face and ask us any question on a Wednesday afternoon for an hour. Thank you so much once again for joining us. Also, before I leave, I have a group that I've set up for people that are premenopause and postmenopause, as well as people that are going through menopause. I'm trying to set up a group coaching for women that are going through menopause. So if you would like to join that group, please contact me and I'll add you to the group. I have sent out messages as well. So if you know anyone that will benefit from group coaching, going through menopause, or just want to know anything about menopause, let us know and we will add them to the group as well. Thank you once again, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next week, Thursday, same time, 8 o'clock. Have a lovely evening. God bless you all.
Bless you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you indeed. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ine. Thank you, Judith.
Thanks.
Bless
Thank
everybody.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good night. Thanks for sending me the link.
Oh, thank you, honey. We're always here. Thank you, Helen, for joining and all your questions.
It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
See you soon. Speak to you soon. I'll call you.
Definitely, definitely.
Thank you, Glory.
Oh, thank you, Omana. Thank you. Thank you, Norma. She's done already.
Thank you, guys.
Grace. Thank you,
very
Aneta.
very interesting afternoon. Juice
Oh,
Doctor.
thank you, Aneta. God bless you. So you see all the different sides of us.
Yes, I do, and I am enjoying it. Have a
Oh,
wonderful
thank you.
Thank you.
night.
Nessa.
And you
Take
said
care.
have a wonderful afternoon.
I will
Wonderful
do.
night.
Have a great afternoon and a great evening.
Yeah, see you in the
Bless you,
morning.
Dr. Juice Doctor. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you,
Jay.
Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernestine, for joining us again this week. We appreciate you.
First time attending. Thank you very much. Very informative.
Oh, thank you. Hope to see you next week.
I shall be back. Thank you, Juice Doctor. Thank you very much,
Anne.
Gloria.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Juice Doctor.
Oh,
Thank you, Grace.
Welcome. Thank you.
You can still ask him any questions if you want. But we'll just keep it to the time.
I'll give him a break. So next week, God willing.
No problem at all. No problem.
And
Thank
then
you so
obviously
much.
invite your friends as well.
I will do. I invited a few today, so I will.
Oh, thank you. Thank
I
you.
will
Thank
put
you.
it on some group platforms that I belong to. So you
Are you
never
on Telegram group, Grace?